James has been in Utah. I've been in Ogden for 13 months, I think, is what you said.
Yeah, we got here last November.
Okay.
Yeah.
First impressions of Ogden.
Super digging it. It's funny. My first impression of Ogden, was actually a van session, believe it or not.
What?
My interview when I was here was the first week of August. And so, I'm, interviewing the town, as much as I'm being interviewed, right? And so my last night here was the first Friday, and I just had my time to kind of, run up and down. Wayne Coyne was out there doing the art stuff. There was a van session.
That was a weekend there, yeah.
It was kind of bizarrely awesome, and there was a sold out Twilight that night, and I was walking down 24th, and as I passed by a building, they unveiled a mural with confetti on the side of the parking garage, all on the same. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah,
Ogden, yeah.
That's usually
come get some, yeah.
a random Tuesday here, but I'm glad you were able to witness that.
Yeah, no, it was the perfect perfect Friday night out for me. First week in Ogden.
That would have been a good recruitment night. Yeah.
Here I am.
Try to get you officially into town. Mm-hmm. Let's line up a mural opening. Let's do van sessions. Let's get a Twilight going. And then did you find some good food?
Totally. Yeah. I went to where did I go? Rooster. Yeah, a couple places on 25th. Yeah.
Well, we didn't plan any of that really for you specifically, but
Don't tell him that.
Good. I
Don't
know.
tell him.
So James was in Alaska, and you were what's your job? I guess
while in Alaska.
Yeah.
Working for organizations comparable to, super similar to Onstage Ogden. There as the community engagement director, which is in charge of the fundraising, getting artists outside of schools and outside of the concerts and into schools and community work like that. And then got to be involved in lots of different aspects of the organization that led me to being the right background to be an executive director someplace else. So.
Was there a LinkedIn call? How did you see that Onstage Ogden needed help here?
So I tried to be involved, and I've had the benefit of being involved with a lot of our regional and national organizations that kind of represent what we do. And I was frequenting one of their job postings, the Western Arts Alliance. They do this work all over the West. And I saw Onstage Ogden, and my wife and I knew we wanted to stick in the Mountain West. We knew we wanted to be someplace near an airport where we can get around pretty quick, and the kind of organization, it's not we don't own a venue, right? We could just get to focus solely on the performances. So all of those three things lined up with Onstage Ogden. So threw my hat in the ring.
So when you were doing your research on Ogden, because I've no doubt that you did, where'd you go? What'd you find out about before you came? And was it blowing smoke, or was it, what was the impression?
No, that's super interesting.
Because when I'll visit a place, sometimes it matches up pretty true, and sometimes I'm like, you wrote that. Somebody from the city wrote that, and yeah.
No, it's funny. I probably did 3 websites in this order. One, it was the Onstage Ogden website. See what's going on there, right?
Probably a good place to start.
Good place to start. You're applying for the job. The second website would have been Trail Forks, which is where you check out the mountain bike trails. Oh, so just immediately, it's I know Utah's got good mountain biking. Does this place? Check that out. And then this website called Wikipedia. If you guys have checked that out.
We know Wikipedia well. That's our research source.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep. Well, that's something I took for granted for a long time and never thought about is the Salt Lake International Airport. Because long story, but my vehicle was being repaired in Idaho, an hour away from Yellowstone, which is
how long is this story?
4 hours from here. I'm almost done.
Okay, good.
And the mechanic said, I've got to catch a flight and I got to drive. So wait, so you got to drive 4-5 hours because you got to go to catch a flight out of the Salt, because there's airports in Idaho, but not big enough that they would fly. So Salt Lake International, I'm like, oh yeah, I thought an hour drive was rough like that. Could you imagine driving 4 or 5 hours? So I respect, because I wouldn't have even thought of that before last year, that it pays to live close to an airport if you like to go places.
Yep. Especially coming from someplace like Anchorage, right, where you're just kind of out there on an island, right? Great airport, but connecting through Seattle for everything.
For everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. And Seattle's nice. But
Seattle's great, yeah.
Okay, so Onstage Ogden, you started about 13 months ago then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, first week, November. It was interesting to come in the whole concert world, right, is just like in this super weird spot, especially last year. You're thinking like November 2021. It's kind of reemerging. Audiences are kind of coming back. Some concerts are masking. Some concerts are canceling. Some concerts are like halfway through. So it was like super interesting time to come down here and start to change things up. Just in terms of like how it was going to evolve out of that, right? I would say like last year we kind of had a little bit of an abridged season. Like it wasn't a full slate of programming. I think we were doing like 70% capacity for audiences, and really we're getting back to it now. Like we were having like less capacity than that anyways, just because like people weren't really like necessarily like ready to be back in those enclosed spaces yet. But we're seeing a lot of improvement on that now.
So it was interesting you mentioned you don't have a venue to worry about.
Yeah.
So that takes some weight off your shoulders. So what do you focus on as far as the performance goes?
Well, it takes weight off our shoulders. It also like lends some creativity to it too, because we're not just like tied to one place. Like historically, we're at Weber State, the Val Browning Center over there. It's a great facility. We love working with them. The 1,400 seat auditorium over there. Like if we're bringing something like the Symphony, if we're bringing something like Ballet West up to come do the Nutcracker, it's going to be over there, right? We're also been working really well with Peary's Egyptian Theater with the county. Super interesting venue. Like walk in the lobby, it's just bonkers the first time you see it. It's great. And then we've also been doing some stuff here at the Monarch. When we're here, we're trying to get like between like 150, 300 people upstairs to see something like a little different, a little outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm sick of hearing about the Monarch. Let's talk about the. I'll talk about the Egyptian a little bit more. Okay, so when you first saw the Egyptian, Peary's Egyptian, what was your reaction to that? Because that is a unique theater that is, I mean, that's probably one of our most historic buildings in town.
Yeah, it's great.
Give me that first impression when you walked in those doors.
Especially because the first time I saw it, I think I kind of got to walk into it just like two of us, right? Because I was there for like a tour, right? Walk in and, I mean, I'd never seen anything like it, right? Never seen anything anywhere like that. Super ornate, just so totally different. And then favorite part of it is I think when I saw it, they had just done a huge lighting revamp, put a ton of money into it and like a really solid investment. That the dome above the audience, right? And that can like it'd be like a beautiful night sky or whatever they want it to become. And then like
and somewhat new seats. I think the seats were replaced somewhat recently.
They just did the seats, yeah, and like great acoustics in there. It's a really cool. All the facilities we get to work on are very cool, and that's certainly it's like a gem for Ogden. It's a super interesting.
Kind of to continue that thought, and I'll let you jump in just a second. When you are checking out spaces, right? So when you're getting to know a community. And you're obviously looking for, you're also scouting locations, right? Like, where can I set up a trio or, because there are some spontaneous performances. Well, I say loosely spontaneous. They're not, they're different scale.
Sure, yeah.
You do different scale. Do you find yourself sort of looking at those spaces a little differently?
I would certainly, just like in general, being in this business, kind of like ruins going to concerts for you in a certain way, right? Like whether you're like looking at the space, like, could crowd traffic be better over here? Or like, is the concessions okay? Or just in general, like, would I book this band? It's like a good problem to have.
It's a good and the bad.
It's a fun problem to have.
I'm looking behind the curtain. Did you have something you were going to say?
Yeah, what is it? I'm curious, just a business idea. I don't know if it happens so much anymore, but I remember back like Eric Jaime or Scott Jaime had a movie premiere there.
Scott, yeah.
Yeah. What does it cost to book that place these days? A few $1,000s, couple $100s, or what? Thousands and thousands?
It's on the county. They have different roles for like different, like whether you're a commercial person, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're an individual coming in there, whether it's free or whether it's ticketed. So it's kind of all over the place. Honestly, I'd say for like what you get, like any of the venues we get to work with are fairly affordable, especially when they're working with somebody that's like nonprofit, community minded, and like trying to make cool things happen in the community. We have like really good luck working with all of our venues.
That's a very ED answer.
But
we got another politician here.
That's a good answer. I like that.
It is a good answer. Yeah, I would have said like say $800, man.
Okay, so you're at 13 months. I just started a new job. I'm about 3.5 months,
Yeah.
something like that into it, and so I'm still learning the ropes. Probably for I'll be honest, probably another 6 months or so. And so, at 13 months, you got the job down pat for the most part.
Oof.
Right? I mean, you've seen a year. You've seen an unusual year maybe, but you've
Yeah.
still seen a year. And so you're probably getting to the point where you're starting to think a little bit more about possibilities, right? So they brought you in for the different perspectives that you might have.
Sure. Yeah.
And so have the gears started to turn? You got anything secret that you can reveal for us today?
Do I have anything secret?
Any ideas? Anything that would just be off the charts?
Is
Well, no,
Andrew
she-
laughing up there?
Well, no, it's only that like the decisions you make take so long to have any effect, right? So like this season, so that when I say the season, like our 2022, 2023 fall and spring season, right? So I probably got to book, a third of it. Another chunk of it was stuff that's like rescheduled still from COVID. And then another chunk of it is stuff, basically the Utah Symphony says like, hey, this is when we're available to come to Ogden. Like we take them when we can get them, right? It's like this thing you put out in the world and you really don't know the results for like another, honestly, like 18 months.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Right, just in terms of like when the cycle happens. So like every concert, every concert, you're like, oh, little feedback. It's like, oh, the community's responding to this, or the community's not responding as much to this. So you kind of like need to hold your trajectory if you feel good about like what we're doing. Like for example, we've got concerts coming up in the next couple of weeks. We got one Saturday night, Mariachi Herencia de Mexico. It's a mariachi group. It'll be at Peary's Saturday night, and we knew going into it, we wanted to start attracting those kind of audiences to Peary's more often. And so like, what does that look like for the next 2 to 3 years? So whether this Saturday was going to work out or not, we're already looking at like what that looks like 2 to 3 years out, in that like we want to continue that trajectory. That's like a totally roundabout answer.
No,
answer
but
to
that's
your
the
question,
sexy side of planning ahead 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, true that.
Do you have a timeline? Are you going to be here to see the fruits of your labor?
Well, I'm missing the concert this Saturday.
No, I mean like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Like, do you have a timeline in your head? Like, how long you plan to be in the current position? Is this like a long haul thing? So
This
everything.
is
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Oof, man, we're just
Yeah.
like the life question.
Yeah.
No,
life questions.
we see ourselves here in the next 5 years. Like we bought a house downtown. We wanted to be close to everything that's going on down here. My wife got super lucky that my wife got an awesome job when she came in. She's working over at Parker Hannafin. We're digging in for the long term. I am bummed I'm going to miss this weekend's concert, as tomorrow morning I fly to New York for our annual booking conference, where like everybody from like all around the country goes out there, and like it's an arduous week of meeting all day and seeing shows all night.
Room full of bookies.
Yeah, well,
All right, different bookies.
different bookies. Yeah.
Well, that should be a fun trip.
No, it's a super fun trip. It's like super tiring. You like your meetings all day, and then you see shows all night. And like I'm like, oh, talk to my wife Nicole. I'm like, Nicole, I'm so tired. She's like, I have no sympathy, zero sympathy for this. Yeah, it sounds super fun.
So when you tell people you're the executive director for Onstage Ogden, and they say, "Well, what's Onstage Ogden?" What's your answer?
Okay. Oftentimes, if somebody's asking me that from in Ogden, they're going to know our organization as having been called the Ogden Symphony and Ballet Association. That was our name up until like mid 2019.
Yeah.
So 1949, organization starts to bring the Utah Symphony.
1949.
1949,
That's
yeah.
a long time.
1949, founded to bring the Utah Symphony, solely to bring the Utah Symphony up the road to Ogden, right? Which is a super unique relationship around the country. Like, I've not seen another relationship like this around the country, where like a world-class symphony like that is like coming regularly to a community of this size. Like it's an awesome asset.
And it's a nonprofit, so it was formed through a nonprofit to bring the symphony up to Ogden.
Yep. Yeah. It was a couple super motivated women back in the day that said like our community deserves to have this up here, and we're going to figure out how to make it happen.
Founded
Let's
by
be honest.
women, of course.
Super motivated women. That's virtually
Super
everything.
motivated. Yeah.
I think we could make a short list of things that were created by men. It's very short. And it's probably like,
Well, we just had on Michelle and Reba. Michelle started OFOM,
That's a
and I
good
mean,
example, yeah.
it's like,
yeah, no,
same
it's true.
thing. So
It's true.
continue. Yes.
Yeah, and really the symphony had only been around, I think, like 4 years prior to that. So like just only a few years after them being founded, it's like, okay, they have to come to Ogden. It goes on for a few decades. We add at some point Ballet West, comes into the fold. The Salt Lake Ballet Company. About 10 years ago, they started adding some like touring pieces, and really there was a pivot about 2 or 3 years ago to really increase what that like touring artist footprint looks like here in terms of like the artists we're bringing from out of state more regularly. And I'm coming from an organization that did that solely. Like we had a local symphony. We weren't necessarily bringing a symphony separately. I'm coming from an organization that did a lot of the national touring stuff. So the trajectory was already there pre-COVID, but because of that kind of pause, suddenly we have like a lot more national acts looking at this season and certainly in seasons beyond.
All right, James, close us out. What do you want to see? The organization do over the next 5-10 years while you're in charge? Where do you want to take it?
Wow. It's again, big question. You're like
off a cliff. That's it.
Off a cliff.
Preferably not that.
Blaze of glory.
No, I'll say this: like we got like an awesome staff, an awesome group of people working there. We got an awesome board of directors that really, is being valuable to the community. And then like, how can we increase that over the coming years? And how's that diversifying our programming to be more valuable in the community and like being more accessible, like mattering more to more people in the community, and just like what does that look like in our concert programming? So I think whether that means like increasing our marketing or increasing our relevance, I think you're going to see both over the coming years. And certainly you'll see us. We're trying to be regulars at the Monarch and at Peary's, and at some point we're talking about the amphitheater, and to a lesser extent Snow Basin. Perhaps we do a show up there at least once a year. And just being like more visible, more relevant, and just being in front of more folks and serving like live performance to more folks.
Would Ogden support the Nutcracker in July, you think?
No.
Is there a summer version of the Nutcracker?
Maybe. Isn't there?
I mean, you could think of like Swan Lake or any one of the other.
Characters are wearing shorts and flip flops.
I will say they certainly support it on Thanksgiving weekend. Ogden came out.
That's why I brought
Ogden
it up.
came out massive for it.
Yeah, it was. They did come out massive.
We had 5,000 people come through Weber State Thanksgiving weekend for
It was probably because my daughter was in it.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was a soldier. And
Yep.
So. Yeah.
So one last question for you: who is your favorite staff member? Who's your favorite board member? There's no right answer.
No
There's no
doubt.
wrong answer.
No doubt, I would say my esteemed colleague Andrew,
Not because he's
who is the
listening
live
right now.
studio audience this evening.
Oh God, that's funny.
Did you ever see the bus in Alaska? I'm looking at the Into the Wild book.
No,
They moved.
They hauled it out.
I heard they hauled it out.
There's a whole there's a whole vibe around that up there, and like how people feel about that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a don't talk about it thing.
Yeah.
Though there's a very cool brewery for the United States that has like a recreated like little like Instagram trap with a fake bus, right? That you can go and do your own thing with it.
Yeah, people have died trying to go see the
Yeah.
bus. And it's
Yeah.
probably not the best.
Yeah.
Did you have a list of events coming up, or did you mention them all that you're?
Oh, we've got a couple coming up. So yeah, Mariachi Herencia de Mexico at Peary's. That's this coming Saturday, depending on when the podcast goes out here. A super epic concert with the Utah Symphony. Carmina Burana is like this. You might not know the title, but you know the piece. It's one of the first movements. It's called O Fortuna. It's like it's in like hamburger commercials as like the epic sound.
Yeah.
Weird Instagram reels. Like it's super popular right now. But everybody's like, oh, that's O Fortuna. So that'll be over at Weber State coming up.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne used to begin his
Yep.
concerts with it.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
For real. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
It's like it's one of the grandest pieces of classical music you can possibly hear, and they're gonna have a huge. Hundreds of chorus members on stage with them. It's kind of like a face melting classical music night. It'll be very cool.
And now it's a famous Instagram reel back song.
It really is. It's so. I saw one the other night. It was
Just like it was intended.
just like it was originally. The other night I saw one. It was a dog getting its nails clipped to O Fortuna. It was like how much further can this go?
Oh, just wait.
Yeah.
Oh, just wait.
James, do you sit there and run the Instagram account for Onstage Ogden? Like,
No.
what do you do?
We've got a Camille and Avery, our awesome communications department over there, and do a good job with that. They don't want me. They don't want me with my fingers on that. No way.
I think so. Did you announce Nutcracker last year, not 2022, but 2021 in the fall.
So, I mean, we do have a traditional relationship with Ballet West, so they're just kind of here.
Yeah, but you, like personally, were you on stage last year?
Was I on stage last? Oh, yeah, I would have been. Yep.
Yeah, because that was my first impression of you. Because you got up there, because I think you'd been here like a week.
Yeah. Like
What's
2
your
weeks,
impression?
yeah.
Pretend he's not right here beside us.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I'm honest. Because it was brand new executive director, and he got up there, and he didn't have notes. And he's like, all right, here's what's going on. And he like lists all these things. I'm like, that dude can either memorize fast or he is the best bullshitter I've seen. So
Yes.
one of the, yes.
You are right, sir.
Yeah. But I was impressed because you knew your stuff already. Like it was really fast. And you were naming, I think you were going through like sponsors and stuff and like didn't use the cell phone.
You
didn't
listed
use
every
notes.
cast member
That's right.
by name and
Absolutely.
character.
Yeah.
I whistled a few of the tunes.
Very
Great.
impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very impressive.
Yeah. So that was my first impression.
No, I mean, appreciate that. Thank you. I'd had the opportunity to do like a few of those in the past, and like,
Yeah.
that's one of those things where you either think it's a perk of the job or a punishment of the job, and like, it's fun enough to
Announcing
do for me,
what's
so.
going on,
Yeah.
what's coming up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In front of a lot of people, and not shy. Just came right out, and I knew you were new to Ogden, and came right out on stage and just let it out. And I was like, okay, good pick on stage, good pick. Yeah.
I'm also really good with Excel sheets. For when that's where Andrew's like, oh God,
let's
is he?
dive
Oh my
into
God,
that.
yeah.
Tell me more about Excel sheets.
On that transition.
The whole Microsoft suite or just Excel?
I'm a Google man myself. Yeah.